Alright, let's go. Let's start off here on EU on the daily. We've started off very bearish this morning. It looks like rather than say respect this order block itself and reject it, we are probably heading for the sell side liquidity below. Of course, there's an imbalance below that. Possibly we're heading towards there. But I would say this would be a major point of sell side liquidity that could cause a reversal in price. So I'm keeping my eye on how far price goes, and if we take this low here, we also may experience some divergence with DXY, of course, because we have some highs around here and we may not make it that high up. Either way, DXY is also very bullish this morning. We are deep within our daily order block here. We'll see if there's any more resistances on the lower time frame. However, we may also come for the buy side liquidity above those highs. So we'll keep a close eye on that today. We've obviously gone through our previous daily highs, previous daily lows. That is not reversing price. We are very bearish at the moment. Right, so price is continuing on its bearish way. We filled a weekly imbalance. Okay, at the moment, we'll see if that plays out over the rest of the week if we close below it. Let's go down to the 4 hour. Let's see what that looks like. So here on the 4 hour, zoomed out for a moment, you can see we've completely filled all of the 4 hour imbalances. We may be into some sort of order block here, but either way, it looks like that sell side liquidity low is that next target just below here. Now, if we just look to DXY at the moment, we have come deeper into that. However, that has now filled these imbalances. Whether they'll become some sort of resistance over the day and we don't take this high, we will see. But those are POIs that we've filled now as possible resistance. And as I said, on the 4 hour time frame, it's a bit easier to see the high here, which forms this daily order block as buy side liquidity. So if we do take that buy side liquidity and the sell side liquidity here, we'll see if we get any reaction to possibly pull back up into our 4 hour bearish leg that we have here, possibly towards more of a premium. There's that 4 hour, 1 hour order block we left behind, or just to fill maybe some imbalances or anything we left behind in this possible new leg here, right, where we've made a lower low. So on the 4 hour here, clearly structure is still bearish, right? Lower highs, lower lows, mitigating imbalances and continuing down. We'll see what we do with this sell side and buy side liquidity if it comes to that. Let's go to the hourly, see what that looks like, see if it clears up any sort of bias. So we've moved very bearish this morning, a lot of momentum, fully bearish engulfing candles, right? Just closing out, creating those lower lows now. We've left behind a huge imbalance. We closed this in 11 minutes, so I assume this balance is not going to be filled in that time. Right, you can see we've come above maybe these Asia highs, or this is the Asia high into Frankfurt. Okay, and once that buy side liquidity was mitigated, price has just fallen and making that new low. We haven't quite yet taken out that sell side liquidity. Perhaps we'll get a pullback before then. So if I just zoom in a little bit more here on the 1 hour, you can see there will be a 1 hour order block right up into the possible premium. If we use this as our leg, we have the same 1 hour POI down here on DXY. So we may experience a pullback and the opportunity to see this hold as resistance and this as support to continue our bullish DXY move, bearish EU move down to possibly these lows, and this would be the at least the next sell side liquidity week low target if we hold this high, right? All of this on the 1 hour appears mitigated, right, which is helpful, I guess, in using this as the leg instead. We have the clear lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low formation. So it's helpful for us to gain a bias now to go bearish, okay? Like I said, this area is possible support, but going with structure and allowing this POI to shift on the lower time frame to bearish and hold this as resistance will give me confidence to continue going with that bias. So let's go down to the M15. Let's put together what a trade may look like for today. Right, so on the M15 we have our Asia range evening into Asia. Right, we made this high, we come up into the London sort of Frankfurt area here, we swept those highs, right? We closed out bullish engulfing, bearish engulfing, right, which is basically a sweep or a high test. We've made our new lower low here, so very clear, obviously, break of structures around this point there. Now, due to the time and the kill zone times, which I don't really trade outside of because the probability goes down a lot for my trading strategy, what I would want to see, price to obviously pull back into this zone here. I'd want to see the zone hold. because we may well just come for the buy side liquidity above London before breaking down, or reverse to go long, right? So you never know. But either way, rather than me trading from this point, I'd want to see price hold this area to create a weak low. We break our structure here with some momentum, leaving behind an order block for us to possibly pull back to correctively up here to continue short. So something like this would look good to me. Break of structure there where we've left behind our lower time frame M15 order block with imbalance. We have a pullback that might be corrective, leaving inducement just below that, and then we can set our order stop loss just above the highs, targeting towards this weak low for whatever your strategy targets. Mine again would just be around 3% here, so it looks something like that. Ultimate target down here and down here if we're going to continue bearish. Of course, given the fact that we've taken sell side liquidity, and like I said, the danger is we might want to take that London buy side liquidity. We could definitely still see a short, but it could come take this buy side liquidity, then break down as well, which would be a similar formation, and we'll go into this sort of old M15 order block here. And then, as we know, we'll expect for DXY to do similar, come down to that order block there, hold it, do whatever it does, and then break above also to head for this weak high and weak high up here possibly. So that's everything on EU for me, so let's move on. Right, I'm going to blast through these next two pairs. We're on NU at the moment because NU and AU are very similar, right? They are positively correlated, so they will always look similar. Bear in mind, I have DXY at the bottom here, but DXY isn't as correlated with these as it is EU. Okay, so I don't look for them to be a complete mirror of each other, right? I just need to see what's going on with DXY, maybe relative to strength and weakness. Right, so I've got NU here now. You can see where we've also been quite bearish on this pair, pulling down to a high time frame daily POY. Right, so we're within that imbalance with that order block here. Just below is the last order block candle, which we do tend to mitigate, so I've got that highlighted there. Price is slowing down. You can see the momentum here. It's getting rather tight and corrective, okay, but we are still bearish looking, so we do look like maybe we'll come to at least mitigate this area here. Right, and obviously what's great about that is if we do, we're also at a zone of possible resistance and buy side liquidity on DXY. So if we are to go bullish on New Zealand dollar, then of course it would look great that we have the possibility of going bearish on US dollar. So today has opened up very bearish. We're moving quite bearish this morning, possibly being drawn towards this zone here. So let's go down to the 4 hour. So zoomed out for the moment, you can see we have that 4 hour imbalance with sort of order block there as well. So we do have room to come down and mitigate further into this zone here, which is that daily order block candle. Zooming back into price, as I said, price is becoming a bit more squeezed, right? Less bearish momentum. However, we can still see the lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Structure is still very bearish, okay, which is good for trend and bias. So we can have that bearish bias going on here. You can see over the last day or two where we have come up, swept buy side liquidity across this range that was created here, broke down creating a lower low. We've pulled back. We have a 4 hour POY order block here at the premium-ish / middle area of that range. Okay, mitigated that, and I'll continue to break down. So for me on the 4 hour, this is a weak low because we've made a lower high respecting this POY as resistance. So it only makes sense that we go for that weak low, which is also previous daily low sell side liquidity. So we've taken internal buy side liquidity just at the end of the previous day, and we're continuing bearish into today. So I think that looks good and already sets me up for bearish bias, at least until this low here. Okay, so the previous daily low looks a good target and with a higher time frame draw below. Let's go down to the 1 hour. So on the 1 hour here, we also have clear POIs where that 4 hour order block was. We have a 1 hour order block as well, right, where it broke down, made a lower low, pulled back again. As you can see, we had our overnight into Asia, London range, New York, swept that buy side liquidity, right, kept going, and eventually we're making lower lows. Now internally here, to go with our bearish bias, we've already made that lower high, and then price, you can see we're making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. Okay, so we sort of have an internal 1 hour leg here even today already. So that could continue going and just take out the low by itself. Seeing this leg here isn't ultimately important to me, but it does mean that that internal leg is still heading bearish. We've left behind this imbalance up here in the premium with a 1 hour order block possibly behind it. So if we do pull back towards this NY daily open, right, the midnight open, we may see that resistance here where to continue shorts from, to target this as a weak low and respect this area, and this as that ultimate weak low of the external structure. So I think that looks good. Bearish bias across this board as well versus the dollar. Let's go down to the M15. So on the M15, I don't see anything actionable. We've just been making these candles here, like, which haven't got any structure to it in my opinion. It's just very corrective. We have made the lower low though, and this is our target as I mentioned. So just like on EU, I'd probably just want to see this pull back up into this zone here, respect this 1 hour POI. It may come deeper, right, because we've got M15 order block up there, but it doesn't really matter for this example. Then we break down, okay, pull back to our lower time frame order block with imbalance, of course, from that momentum to target those weak lows. So break of structure from here, from respecting this 1 hour POI, leaving behind an order block that has an imbalance hopefully, and then we have our pullback that might leave some inducement for us, and we set our order to go short, right, heading down towards those lows. Mine would be for 3%. So it looks something like this for me. Now it may come up and start making some sideways structures here that gets swept and breaks down. That's fine as well, and like I said, it may pull back deeper to here before doing that. We obviously do have to keep in mind if US dollar starts taking any significant buy side liquidity first, because that may mean the dollar may go weak, right, and we may go bullish on New Zealand dollar. But again, it's not correlated in the same way that EU is. So let's keep it rolling. Let's move on to AU. Again, AU is very similar. You say we look bullish here on the daily, right, with our high highs, high lows, high highs. We've pulled back down to this area. Now you can see the price action's getting very condensed here, holding its possible support. Now zoom in further into price. Even though we are down in our main POI here, right, order block, imbalance is filled, price is possibly going to continue more bearish. We started off very bearish today, but we have our previous daily highs and lows still intact as possible targets. So we'll see what the structure looks like on the lower time frame. Now this could hold. DXY may take some significant buy side liquidity and we completely reverse to continue our bullish trend. So we'll go down to the lower time frames. We'll see what that looks like. Though as I said, it will be very similar to New Zealand dollar. So yeah, 4 hour structure, very clear in terms of, you know, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Okay, so we have our structure from this point here to this low here. Just like New Zealand dollar, we have pulled back to that equilibrium slash premium, mitigated this 4 hour POI, and are continuing bearish. We have a lot of bearish momentum in the last 3 hours, and this would be my weak low. Okay, so this is the possible weak low here. Structure is bearish, as we said, so it does give us more of a bias to continue going bearish, at least until some sell side liquidity and a buy side liquidity target is met on the dollar. So let's go down to the 1 hour. Again, very similar to New Zealand dollar. We've got the 1 hour POI there as well. Price is held. We've had multiple sweeps of buy side liquidity. We had one overnight here. Buy side liquidity swept. We've gone on to make a lower low. So again, we have our external structure here on the hourly, if you want to count that from this high to this high, and then internally on the hourly and M15, we're still making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, right? Sweeping buy side liquidity. So we look good also to target this as a weak low, in my opinion, and to continue bearish for today. We've left behind imbalance with order block here, right? So this is just about a bullish candle that we may pull back to serve as resistance. So that would be an area I'd be looking to for shorts, and it may coincide with DXY finding some resistance at its 1 hour POI as well, possibly. They won't line up the exact same. DXY could go bullish from anywhere and we could still come back to him. So let's go down to the M15. Again, just like New Zealand dollar, what I'm going to be looking for, pull back to this area, let it hold. There's an M15 order block here as well, which went on to make the lower low. However, I would rather see it hold and get this pullback on these pairs. I'm still a bit new to these pairs as well, which is why I'm a bit cautious. But this is what I'd want to see with the lower time frame order block with imbalance from that momentum to short towards that week low. Now I do think AU looks slightly better, clear buy side liquidity here, but this area here is just a cluster of buy side liquidity to me, and we have that M15 order block up here that started the move and swept the liquidity. So again, price could pull back deeper, either this area holds or this one does, right, and creates that weak low, and I'd wait for this same breakdown up there if need be, right. It may happen up here as well, and I'd wait for that, but I'm just going to see what this resistance point does here. But I do think AU looks okay, right? It's not green lighted, it's more of an amber. Wait to see that breakdown. I think we're heading towards these lows. So again, let's move on, see what the next pair looks like. Right, so GJ, let's get into this. We've gone very bullish today already. We're well above previous daily high. That buy side liquidity is not doing anything to reverse price at the moment, so we'll see what the lower time frame is saying. We're pulling back deep. We obviously have imbalances above, buy side liquidity targets, say even here, so there's no telling how far price is going to go looking at the daily. Right, we was getting very tight here, looked like we was going to break out. We've broken out to the upside at the moment. So let's go down to the 4 hour, see what that looks like. All right, zooming out on the 4 hour, we have our 4 hour order block here, which swept buy side liquidity, broke down with a lot of bearish momentum, creating that large move here and lower low. All right, we've pulled back to that zone now. We're within that 4 hour POI. We've only just barely come into it, so there's definitely room to pull back deeper. So at the moment you can see we're still making those high highs, high lows, high highs. Okay, so I'll take this as my first leg. The leg isn't so important because at the moment obviously we're very much in a premium. We've mitigated a possible resistance POI, albeit we have room to keep going, so we'll have to see what the lower time frame does. But we're definitely within a premium, which is the most obvious point of however you measure this leg. We've left behind loads of imbalance. Okay, we left behind this POI here. Ultimately we may pull back there at one point, but we've got this one here first and possibly perform a large one here. Okay, so possible resistance. We're in a premium after a massive bullish move because it's a JPY pair. We moved a lot overnight. So let's go down to the hourly. Right, so on the hourly the leg is a bit clearer. We can use this low here to this high and see this as our hourly leg. Right, we swept below, taking all this sell side liquidity, mitigated a 1 hour POI just here as well, and then gone on to make that high. Right, so we've got a lot of momentum, and now at the moment you can see we're finding some sort of resistance. Price is pausing, bearish candle, high test sort of doji, very small body here. All right, and the next hour has just started, so we'll see if we're going to break down. You can see I've got an alert there to see if we do break down below that low. We've got loads of imbalances along the way that price may be drawn to mitigate toward this discount. 1 hour bullish structure, but what I think I'll be looking for here is pullbacks from this premium right after all this buy side liquidity is taken and we're at this POI. So bearish bias in terms of a counter trend trade, but we can also look for those pro trend trades if they present themselves. However, from this premium I'd prefer to just look for a counter trend. So let's go down to the M15. Alright, so as you can see, price is starting to take a bit of a pause here and form structure at the tops, right? So this is the M15 and now we're moving a bit sideways, creating a range. Right, we may need to wait for some sort of manipulation of buy side liquidity at the highs beforehand, but we need price to choose a side and break down or not. So I have that alert here just so I can review it if it breaks down. So I think we may have just swept some buy side liquidity at this top here, but again we have no breakdown just yet. So what would I want to see to get involved in a trade on this pair? I need to see price break down from this area here, whether it was come up, take some clear buy side liquidity and then break down. Okay, so we have a clear breaker structure below one of these lows, and then we can pull back to our lower time frame order block with imbalance to then continue going low. So I want to see buy side liquidity taken here, causing that break of structure somewhere around this zone here, leaving behind an order block with imbalance around here to break down, stop loss just above the highs to aim towards that discount. Okay, so I'd be aiming for 3%, and we'd possibly have a pullback that would leave some sort of inducement below our order for it to be mitigated for us to go down. So this is what I would look for here. Right, buy side liquidity mitigated, momentum calls from that breaker structure, pullback. Okay, Looking at the time, it may not happen in this London session, so I want to see that order flow come into the market and break down. Right, so I'm going to end it there so I don't take up too much time. Hope you gain value from that. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.